develop the visual style of your films, do you bring in your key collaborators from the very beginning, or do you go to them after you've already developed a bit in your mind what you want?
It's a very good question. It varies. The 2 movies I did with Conrad Hall, I did a lot of it before I went to him. I mean, Conrad was my cinematographer and a great cinematographer on American Beauty and Road to Perdition, both of which, for both of which he won the Academy Award. He died of cancer before he was able to accept the award for Road to Perdition, but he was a true artist. With those 2 movies, I had a huge sort of file of pictorial reference and it was partly my first 2 movies. I just wanted to get everything in there, you know. I was so enthusiastic. Now I'm cynical and jaded. So I was, so I had all these, you know, and I remember a file full of, you know, Diane Arbus photos and Magritte paintings and stills from Kubrick's Lolita and Hopper, and that I gave to Conrad when we were doing American Beauty, along with a load of storyboards that I had already worked out. And I did a similar thing with him on Road to Perdition. As something happened on Jarhead when I went, Roger and I decided to shoot handheld on 2 cameras and not be so obsessed with composition and I was trying something out. I felt like I'd already got set in a way of working and I wanted to throw it out and try again and start afresh. And so I've worked differently with Roger. I sometimes will have very clear references about a particular scene. And in this movie, we did talk a fair amount when we were trying to create London and underground London. We talked a fair amount about the Ipcress Files, Get Carter, The Third Man, movies that dealt in that world. And we talked a little bit about how monochromatic the whole feeling of the place should be, full of shadows, dark. Because I felt that London, which is my home city, I felt very frightened of shooting because I don't find it a very photogenic city, but I also find it more difficult when I know a place very well, weirdly, to get a kind of objective take on it, how I want to shoot it. I find it much easier walking into a city and saying, okay, this is how I feel about it, and recording it very quickly. Whereas with London, I had to really think about it. So it varies, you know, and you know, sometimes also, the more you work with someone, like working with Dennis Gassner a 3rd time on the production design, you have a shorthand. I have a shorthand with Roger now, things we've referred to in the past or tried and have worked or haven't worked. You know, things you get a little bit more fluid in terms of how you create.